I stayed. You stopped reaching. The silence arrived before goodbye. The strange part wasn't that we argued. People argue all the time. The strange part was that afterward, you didn't block me. You didn't disappear. You didn't remove our photos or unfollow me or do any of the dramatic things people usually do when they're done. You were still there. That's what made it harder. Your name stayed exactly where it had always been. Our chat stayed pinned near the top of my screen. Your profile picture never changed. Nothing ended loudly. It just became quiet. For the first few days, I kept telling myself you probably needed space. I understood that. At least that's what I said whenever I checked our conversation for the 10th time in an hour. The last message was still mine. And somehow that tiny detail started taking up more space in my head than the actual argument. Because when someone leaves, you know what happened. But when someone stays and stops reaching for you, there is no clear answer. Every night I open the chat. Not to send anything. Just to look. Sometimes I scroll up for no reason at all. Past old jokes. Past random photos of food. Past voice messages neither of us would listen to anymore. I don't know why people do that. Maybe because memories feel safer when they're frozen. The hardest moments weren't dramatic. They were embarrassingly ordinary. Like picking up my phone after hearing a notification and feeling that tiny rush of hope before realizing it was from a shopping app. Or waking up at 2:17 a.m., checking the time, and somehow checking our chat right after, as if something could have changed while I was asleep. Or typing your name into the search bar even though our conversation was already right there. Those small habits stayed long after the fight. Maybe that's what missing someone actually looks like. Not crying. Not begging. Just reaching for a person in ways your body learned before your mind accepted they were gone. Sometimes I see the little online status. And for a second I wonder if you were looking at our conversation too. Wonder if you had opened the chat. Wonder if you had typed something and erased it. Wonder if you were waiting for me. Then I put my phone down and immediately pick it back up again. As if the answer might appear in the next 30 seconds. It never did. The silence wasn't cruel. That's what confused me. Cruel would have been easier. Cruel gives you something to be angry at. This felt different. It felt like standing outside a room where the lights were still on, knowing nobody was opening the door. There were days when I almost messaged you. Not because I had something important to say. Just because I missed the version of myself that used to talk to you without thinking. I missed sending random thoughts. Random photos. Random complaints about the weather. The meaningless things. Nobody warns you that those are the first things you grieve. Not the big conversations. The tiny ones. The look at this. The are you awake? The I just got home. The pieces of life too small to save, but too familiar to forget. And maybe the worst part was realizing that our argument wasn't what kept hurting. The argument ended. It lasted a few hours. Maybe a day. But the silence afterward kept creating new wounds every morning. Because every day without a message felt like a new decision. A new choice. Not to leave. Not to stay. Just not to reach. And eventually I stopped checking as often. Or at least I pretended to. I got better at leaving my phone face down. Better at distracting myself. Better at acting normal. But every now and then, usually when I was waiting in line somewhere or sitting on the edge of my bed before sleep, I'd open the conversation again. The same conversation. The same last message. The same empty space underneath it. And I'd realize something I never wanted to admit. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't even waiting for the argument to be fixed. I was waiting for proof that I still crossed your mind. Just once. Just enough to type a sentence. Because silence does something strange. After a while, it stops feeling like distance. It starts feeling like interpretation. You begin translating every absence into meaning. Maybe you're tired of me. Maybe you're happier now. Maybe you've already moved on. Maybe none of those things are true. But silence never corrects the stories we tell ourselves. It just lets them grow. And that's why some endings hurt more than actual goodbyes. Because nobody announces them. There is no final conversation. No final door closing. Just two people still connected by a chat window neither of them knows how to enter anymore. One day I realized weeks had passed. The conversation was still there. So were you. But the expectation was gone. And somehow that felt heavier than the fight itself. Because hope doesn't always disappear all at once. Sometimes it leaves quietly. The same way people do. Without blocking you. Without leaving. Without saying another word.